Slap this in like a pie crust, and we could take this to parties if we ever get invited to like a dinner party.
Food is arguably the most important resource in Age of Empires 2, but all we see in game is just a single set of numbers. Throughout this series, we will be diving in to see exactly what foods each civilization prepared and ate, and how well I can recreate the recipes. This is Meals of Empires. Today's recipes for the Gurjaras features a lot of dishes from northwestern India, where they came out of. The ecosystem is very arid, features the Thar Desert. There are more drought-tolerable plants and plants that can handle higher temperatures. So we have a lot of lentils, we have a lot of beans. Our oil is mainly going to be sesame oil. And then with the dahl of lentils and beans, we're going to have Methi Thepla. Ooh, this is a tricky one. I'm going to just force my way through all the pronunciation and hope it comes out okay. Methi Thepla is a flatbread found in the Gujarat area, Gujarati cuisine, which is northwest India. And it's remarkable in relation to other Indian flatbreads in that it handles being taken on the road, whereas other flatbreads might not last quite as long. And then for dessert, we are having Barfi, which I'll touch on a little bit more later. But it does have a fun name, and that's mainly why I picked it. But I'll explain that in a bit. Let's get started with the Methi Thepla. So the key ingredient in the Methi Thepla, well, there's multiple different types of templas, but and those are just flatbreads. The methi is the fenugreek leaves. So fenugreek has a flavor that's similar to like maple syrup. So solitone is in fenugreek in pretty high concentrations, and it's also found in maple syrup, in the syrup of maple trees. So that's why fenugreek is occasionally used as an alternative or used to imitate actual maple syrup, I guess in places that don't have maple trees readily available. This recipe took me so long to figure out. I was working most of the week on it, trying to figure out all the different variations, translating words. There's all the regional names for different things. And then, like I mentioned, the lentils have different names based off of whether they're split or not split. So there is a 1.5 cups of wheat flour. So here's another example of something that has multiple names. We have farine de millet. Well, I mean, this is all the different languages, but you can see some places it's called bajri and some places they just call it millet. We're doing 1/2 cup of millet, so that's 1/8 of a liter. Feel free to backseat this cooking as much as you want. I'm interested to know like what variations you would expect from different things. This feels low on the turmeric, but you know, it's not. I guess maybe in the bread it'll come out. I definitely smell the turmeric. It has like that woody, earthy smell. All right, the fenugreek is looking good. Still smells mostly just like an herbal green smell, like spinach or any other green. But we're just gonna mix that in. It's about 1 cup. I think the reason I don't like instinctively use my hands is because you don't want too much gluten forming, so you don't want to mash things too much together in some doughs. And I think in this one it'll be okay since it's unleavened. So yeah, let's just dive in there. It's all homogeneous now, but it's feeling a little bit too wet. And for this, I have the choice of using sesame oil or coconut oil. Ghee was definitely prevalent, but to keep things vegan, those are the two plant-based oils that would have been readily available. Sesame can be grown in very dry climates, whereas coconut would be grown along the coast. Like you can grow sesame in the desert, which is why it's so prevalent in like Western Asia, the Middle East, and such. I guess the main reason I'm using coconut oil is I believe it'll have a higher burning point, so give me a little bit more leeway on cooking these thepla. I'll go right next to my computer for now. So our dal includes these 3 lentils. We have red split lentils, which is also called masoor. Tur dal, which is also called pigeon pea when it's in its full form. And then urid dal, which is also called black gram when it's in its full lentil form, hasn't been split. Splitting requires some pretty intensive industrialized mechanisms. So in the past, dals would have just been cooked whole, like the whole lentil or the whole bean, or ground up into a flour and turned into like a bread instead of a stew. Or you could, I guess ground it up and then put it in a stew, like people do with wheat porridges. But all these are split. And the other thing, this is what I mentioned earlier, where I'm going a little bit off script. Oftentimes you cook your lentils first or separately, and then you include your oils and your spices in like another dish, and you add your lentils to that dish afterwards. However, I just have the one pot that'll fit things. And because these are split lentils, because we have industrialization now, these cook much faster. So I believe I'll be able to do my oil, my onions, my garlic, my ginger, all my spices, then add the lentils in, cook it all up, add water, and it should come out as a good finished product. That's what I'm used to doing with the red split lentils. Hope's like, oh my goodness, what is this guy doing? Off the rails cooking. Onions and garlic are also not eaten or even considered vegetarian by some Indians, depending on philosophical beliefs of what root vegetables represent. I guess, is it traditional? I was about to say, a lot of people nowadays use a pressure cooker to cook dal. Pressure cooker was first invented in 1676 by a French chemist, so a little bit past the time frame for our Age of Empires 2 cooking series. But the reason they use pressure cookers is because a lot of these lentils and beans do take quite a while to cook, even if you soak them, especially if they're in the unsplit form. Wasting garlic skins. You want me to like throw them in an air fryer and crisp them up? When people tell me that, I'm like, bruh, it's garlic. That's pure fiber. As a vegan, I think I get enough fiber. Third ingredient is ginger. And when I write recipes for ginger, I list the amount of ginger based off of the size of a finger. So I said pinky size. So like if you took that part of my pinky up to the first knuckle, and then like that would be the second half of my pinky. What I'm trying to say is that is pinky size, despite the fact it doesn't actually look like a pinky, but I can't figure out any other way to like judge how much garlic or ginger, sorry, you should put into a recipe. Okay, it looks good now. Cool. There still looks like a lag on my phone, so I'm going to refresh that real quick. Yeah, CCCT. That's how I remember which ones I need to get out. Because in English, we have coriander, cumin, cardamom, and turmeric. CCCT. And then for this one, I'm also going to be including bay leaves, which is not typically what I include in curries, but it was coming up quite often when I was doing my research. Cardamom, I often just put in like on my rice, just because it has such a nice floral scent. It's just like a very light scent. But of course, most people remember it from like winter baked goods, like Christmas cookies and stuff like that. The last one in the Zingiberaceae family is turmeric. So turmeric, ginger, and cardamom are all in the same family. And then we have coriander and cumin, which are both in the Apiaceae family, which is the carrot family. So we're going to put 2 bay laurel leaves in. And yeah, when the bay laurel leaves are still on the branch, they would decorate that around people's heads. And that was a sign of victory, and they're just so strong smelling. There we go. Water deglazing. Any of that browning of the onions. I'm going to add a little bit more. I just want to really get all of that sugar that was coming off the onions onto the bottom of the pot back up into the mixture. We still don't have a cat camera. If you would like to donate so we can get a cat camera, I don't actually have a donation link, but spreading into 8 balls. I'll just keep going in half and half and half until I have 8. There we go. We're going to call that good. It might be a little bit thick. And it should bubble up. This smells great. But I think it's burning a little bit, which we don't want. I got like a whiff of the coconut. And we're going to add a little bit more to make it extra nice. Just drizzle that on. All right, we're going to call that guy done. On to the next. It's looking like things are going well here, so I'm very happy. I'm kind of worried though that these might not be, like, how do I test if they're fully cooked? And I'm realizing something that I dare not say in front of Abby. Yeah, it's coming to a consistency, but I can definitely see that some of these lentils are not cooking at the same rate as others. Well, we'll just keep it going. See how these templa with a lot of oil were made to be able to be transported. Like when you're going long distances over arid terrain where you know you're not going to have much food as you go. You're not going to just be able to like find a mango growing on a tree or something like that. All right, we're going to put water and sugar in there. So I guess I can put the water in now. For the barfi, we start with water and sugar, and in this form, of course, it's jaggery, coming from sugar cane. And we're just going to add a little bit at a time and just try to mix it up. You can see the jaggery forms little pellets, and some of it dissolves immediately. So this barfi isn't going to look like the snow, its namesake. Instead, it's going to look like, I don't know, more brown, like a nice woody color. I don't know enough Farsi to give you the equivalent Farsi name of wood. And we're going to be putting 1 cup of almond meal into this, which I could have measured out ahead of time, I think. I'm going to turn it down now so not too much of the water evaporates before I'm ready. I don't want it to stick to the bottom, so I need to just make sure I'm continually mixing. And it's not too dissimilar to making a roux. A roux, I'm like using oil and adding flour. This obviously doesn't have any gluten, but you see the similar like little clumps of solid coming together that I have to mix away into a homogeneous mixture. So I'm supposed to keep doing this until it forms into like a ball. So I think that's going to be a while as the water evaporates. There's no moisture anymore, so it just turns into like, it kind of floats above. There's a thin film, it feels like, that's underneath it, that's kind of taking up all the little pores in the metal lattice of the pan, and everything else just kind of lays up above. So I think this is now where I can add the coconut oil, but first I want to try the dahl and make sure it's getting close. Pretty close. All right, I think I'm going to call that good on all of these. We're getting closer and closer to the taste test. There is a creaminess and there is a nuttiness, but I think I like the Masoor dals the best, like what you find most commonly, which is the red lentil. I think it'll be fun to switch it up occasionally. And since I purchased big bags of them, I will just be making the dals individually and try tempering just to get an idea of all the different taste combinations that can come out of it. But because the Masoor dals cook so quickly, it works well with the cooking style that I was showcasing here, where you put everything into one pot and cook it successively. I think I'll just leave like a full leaf. Coriander is the seed of cilantro, and sometimes you'll find cilantro named coriander. Just to add a little bit more green. That seems to be the theme for Gurjara cooking, Just finding green wherever you can in the desert scheme. Dahl. Thepla. Think like temple.
You supposed to just eat it by itself, or do you dip it, or what do you do? What do you do?
I would say to start off, just take a rip of the thepla and dip it into the dahl and see what you think.
It does have a maple
Smell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like dry and chewy. Not ideal pairings.
Yeah. I'm not a fan. I don't know if it maybe needs salt or I don't know. Okay. I'm gonna try these by themselves.
Okay.
Does this need salt?
You're going to find it needs salt, but I would say it is adequately salted.
Okay. I'm ready.
Execution? I'm afraid to ask. We've had like no feedback, so I think it's just going to be like, this is kind of bland.
It is bland, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was poorly done.
Mm-hmm.
Some food is just bland.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't know anything about this,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like it could be better done. Execution. Lentils are fine. I would salt them.
Mm-hmm.
But like this is it. There's nothing else.
There's dessert, but it's not ready yet.
Okay. Okay.
And you're hungry, so.
All right. What's the lemon doing?
The lemon was garnish for the dahl. I had a little bit of acidity back in.
This is dahl?
Yes.
Oh, maybe it could use more.
More lemon?
I don't know. Okay. I'm just gonna like my gut is kind of saying like a 6.
Okay.
Or a 7.
And in between 6 and 7 is
6.5.
Okay, we figured it out. On execution. And then the big one, the big score, the one that determines how well this ranks against other civilizations. Should you serve this to your girlfriend?
I would eat this, but maybe not that.
Okay.
And I would add salt.
Okay.
And I'd probably want something else with it.
Like rice?
Like if this were better,
yeah,
I would eat it. But yeah, definitely like rice. And it wouldn't be my favorite meal.
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe also like a 6.
That high?
Yeah.
Because you're only enjoying half of the food that's here.
Yeah. And I could improve it.
Okay.
If like we made rice and I added salt and I gotta do something about that cilantro.
I don't know what's wrong with the cilantro.
I don't know, it's just, cilantro's not like my favorite. Also, why is it cilantro?
You prefer parsley by a large
parsley.
margin. Okay. I thought you thought of them equivalently.
No.
Here's something else that I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. Typically, you cook the lentils separately, and then you cook your spices in oil with your onions and garlic, so you get a little bit more flavor at the end. Because I usually use the red split lentils, they cooked fast enough that you still get a lot of the flavor left behind, but I feel like a lot of the flavor here has kind of faded as the lentils have taken so long to cook.
It's interesting.
Because they've been cooking like an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, they cooked a long time.
Yeah, so. I mean, when I'm not cooking everything at once and I need like all the space for different dishes, I can cook the onions and oil and stuff separately.
You'll yell, won't you?
Yeah. He's what you hear in the background, yelling all the time.
All the time.
And he's shown up in 2 YouTube videos. Because I put his little face. I put his face on the camera.
Now his face is in this one.
Yeah, it's a live face. It's not just a stock image. We'll see if you make the cut in the final video. Assuming this is cool enough to touch now. I should be able to mold it into a pleasing shape. Yeah, it's coolish. Woo, it's like a hot potato. Just smooth it out a little bit. And then I'll stick some sesame seeds, which I thought this was going to turn out a lot lighter because I wasn't thinking of like how dark the jaggery is. But no, this come out good. We can just smooth over the seams and fold it over. Oh, we can knead this. Ooh, it's like Play-Doh. Very, very hot Play-Doh. Do not recommend giving this to children. So yeah, I was able to mold that into a nice, pleasing loaf, just like the cat we just saw. Oh, I just mentioned Homer as a loaf, so I guess he'll have to make it into the final edit. Plenty of tasty sesame seeds. It allows the recipe to come full circle. We started with the sesame oil in the dahl, and now we're finishing with some sesame seeds on our dessert. It's, I don't know, hard to see.
This looks like...
It's like a little gummy treat, or it's like a pudding. That's what they call it, a pudding.
So you're not supposed to put it on like a
plate?
Like a pie filling. It's kind of...
Oh, you think it's like a filling that should be between two pieces of crust?
Yes, it should at least have a bottom crust.
No. Taste?
Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
It's really good. I still want a crust. Little graham cracker crust will be delicious. Yeah.
I can make this again.
This feels so bad for me.
No.
It feels like
This is healthier than a lot of sweets because the jaggery has more nutrients and more fiber than more processed sugar. And then you're getting some protein from the almond meal.
Slap this in like a pie crust.
Mm-hmm.
And we could take this to parties if we ever get invited to like a dinner party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have a nice Sunday as well. And I don't know what we're actually going to be doing next week. I've decided we're going to be doing another Asian dish next week because I've been kind of forgetting that Asian civilizations exist. But I'm not sure which Asian civilization we will be picking. Probably something with plenty of veggies, some coconut, definitely some rice. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the comments.